Welcome to the Rooted Warriors, the podcast where the bonds of sisterhood are not just celebrated, but explored through laughter, tears, and everything in between. Join me and my two dearest friends as we dive deep into the roots of our own friendships, sharing stories and challenges. Whether you're looking for inspiration, advice, or just a good story, we're here to bring a piece of our sisterhood right into your life.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah, and today I'm going to be interviewing the host of the Rooted Warriors podcast, Gina, Mo, and Andy. And today we're going to be diving deep into entertainment and how it impacts on how you think.
All right, tribe members, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Today's episode was brought to you by the Ice Cream Emporium, downtown Ripon, Sea Honey, and Slightly Obsessed Studios, as well as the best cocktails in the valley at Falcon's Lair. Stay rooted.
Alrighty, hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about entertainment, and all forms of entertainment, and how it impacts on how we think and how it inspires us.
Ooh, I like this. This is fun.
Great
Yeah.
topic.
I love to be entertained.
Me too.
Me too. And so we're going to go over different forms of entertainment, and we're going to go over not just the entertainment aspect of it, but also on how it inspires us and how it educates us as well.
Okay.
Love this.
This is a great subject.
Let's go.
And so for the first thing we're going to talk about is books. And so I
We like
assume all
that.
of you ladies are readers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to ask you guys what books have impacted you the most in your life?
Oh, that's a good question.
So many.
I know, right?
I know.
Gina depends what phase she's going through.
Yeah.
I know,
Yes.
And I know for the Rooted Warriors podcast, obviously the Bible
Yes.
has a huge impact on all you guys. But let's
Mhm.
refrain from that for this
For
topic.
sure.
Okay, fair.
That way we have some different.
Oh man, this is tough. This is a stumper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I went with, we've talked about books before, and I told you guys about a pleasure read was The Horse Whisperer. I
Yes.
loved The Horse Whisperer. But as far as like self-improvement or self-help books was, is it Count that Greg read it to me? is Untethered Soul.
Yeah, because you've
For sure.
referenced that one a
Yeah,
lot.
For
so that
sure.
makes sense.
Life-changing.
That makes sense.
By Michael Singer, Untethered Soul, for sure.
Mine is Atlas Shrugged.
What?
Is
that
You're
the
gonna
name
have
of
to
the
dip-
person or
yeah.
the name?
Dip
So-
into that.
It's a big book, but
Is it the name of the book or the
it's
author?
the name of the book.
What is it
It's
called?
Anne Ryan, which I always say her last name wrong, I believe, but Anne Ryan is her name.
And the name of the book again?
Is Atlas Shrugged.
Wow. And it's about?
It's basically she predicts what's going to happen in the future if we continue down the political path of socialism.
Oh.
But she does it in a fictional way, so that you don't really realize that she's talking about politics. You think she's just talking
Like in
about a
story form?
business. It's kind of it's in story form, but you end up embracing certain characters and who is John Galt and things like that. So it's pretty cool.
That came out of left field, girl. I was not expecting that at all. You have some good book recommendations, stuff, but that was not what I
And
expected.
Brother George, shout out, brother, because that was one of the things that we bonded about as I was his bartender many a moon ago.
Oh, shout out to George then.
Yep. Who is John Galt?
I have this problem with reading. I don't like to do it unless it's going to educate me in some way or benefit me in some way. So I think the only fictional books that I've ever read was the Harry Potter series to my kids.
Wow, that's crazy. Really?
Yeah.
That's the only fictional book?
What a
That's
great
it.
series to read out loud to your children.
Yeah.
Are you kidding
That's
me?
a great
Shoot
way.
me in the fucking head.
Oh,
First of all, I am not good at reading out loud because
That's
I'm
how I taught myself how to read.
That's how you teach
no.
yourself how to speak.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I was, again, in speech therapy and in reader's workshop. So being held back. And then I'm stupid my whole entire life because I'm the stupid kid in my family.
Stop saying
So
that.
learning to read like properly, I used my kids as little guinea pigs. So I picked up I want to tell a secret.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, the first one was actually the first book I ever read front to back.
Wow.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So she worked at a
Even in high
bookstore.
school?
Fun fact.
That's when it all started.
It was the one there on Pellendale.
Borders, Books and Music.
Borders?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was in the
Borders.
children, and she was in the
Yeah.
children's department.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And she
Yeah.
was so amazing there. And I remember when I first went there, when it first opened, I was like, this place is phenomenal.
Mhm.
And Bob would take me there on date night.
yeah.
And Gina worked there. It was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
What year was this? I'm just curious.
Well, Marcus and Anthony were little. So I'm going to say 97, 98,
Probably
99,
98. I think it was
somewhere right around
98.
there. Yeah. Before
Wow.
Xavier. And I would just sit there and read it. Literally was the first. I mean, I've cheated my way through books, but I've never been, I never, this sounds so bad,
No.
but I never knew what it felt like to read a whole entire book. And then it was like a story. And you're like, I would like wake up in the morning and be like, okay, we're reading again. You know,
Listen,
just
I
so
bet there's
could
a lot
get
of
through
people
the
like
book.
this.
Yeah. And then I read all of them. I loved all of them. And so those were the first books I've ever really read.
The
And
thing
I
that
was an
kills me
adult.
I love
about
that.
books like that and like some of the Star Wars stuff and
Right.
things like that is they can never say their damn names.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
like trying to read it to the kid. I'm like, who the hell knows what this says? I mean, give me like Charles and
She's a
Chuck. Like I can say
Hermione.
these names, you know? What is this name?
Hermione.
Yeah, and the lands that they're in and all the
Yeah.
crap. I can't say this. I'm just making it up. And then the kids
They
later
don't know any different.
No, but later they come back on me. My kids do. They're like, yeah, mom used to say blah, blah, blah. And it's
Yeah.
really blah, blah, blah.
It's
I'm
really
like,
Hermione.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Who cares?
Hermione.
Harmony.
That's
Hey,
so funny.
I love it. I bet there's a lot of people that do that a
Yeah.
lot because I mean, other than what they assign you in school, and how many of people really finish those
Yeah.
books, you know what I mean?
Right.
That you actually go purchase or read a book.
I felt
through.
like I was just always afraid because
Yeah.
I had such a hard time through
Yeah.
school reading. You know, I was probably dyslexic. I had speech problems, like all these things. So it was just more intimidating to me to even like
For
try to
sure.
read a book.
Does music or television kind of impact you more? Would
I
you
don't
say?
watch TV.
Okay. What
Yeah.
about music maybe?
Well, now I love to read
Uh-huh.
and I love podcasts
Yeah.
but reading, I want to do it either to better myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember a couple years ago when we did it was just me and you and we did the little study
That was so good. Being
Yeah.
present in the moment.
it's called Present Over Perfect.
It was amazing.
Yeah, and it's by Shauna Niequist. And
we did it when I had my heart thing, remember?
Yeah.
Because she
Yeah.
always says every time I have a medical thing, she's like, it's your stress.
Yeah.
It is your stress.
Yeah.
You're killing yourself. And that was a book that she
Yeah.
wanted me to read, and we did a study together.
But I love Jordan Peterson. There's a lot of authors. There's her name is Gabriella Bernstein. And
I've heard that name.
yeah, I love her story. I love when there's a good story behind
Mhm.
why they do what they
like
do.
a testimony.
Yeah.
That's me too.
For
It
sure.
moves you.
So I'm going to say I'm more of a reader just for self-improvement.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing about living in today's world is, you know, you go back 100 years, the only way of entertainment really was either going to a play, or 150 years, going to a
Mhm.
play or reading a book. Where now we have so many different, you know, streaming services, and you have podcasts, you have music,
Mhm.
television, plays, movies. And so there's a lot of different outlets you could go to better yourself or to be entertained.
What's
Yeah.
your favorite book, Jeremiah?
Ooh, man.
Oh, you knew that was coming back on
Yeah,
you.
I knew that would come back on me. I think it changes, especially because if the book I have recency bias, so if the book I have just read is really good, then I tend to say that one. I would say in high school, my favorite book during that period was The Great Gatsby, which is kind of like a cliche pick because like
Mhm.
everyone reads Great Gatsby in high school.
I bet me.
Yeah, but Gina, she read Harry Potter. But,
Yeah.
She had it.
yeah. But in that book, it didn't really, at that time, I wasn't really looking like to better myself necessarily. It was just from like a pure entertainment standpoint. I really like the story behind it, and I like the world that the author created. But I would say the book that's probably had the most impact on me personally is The Beautiful and the Damned, and that's the same author. And so when we went to Europe, we went into a bookstore, and my mom and we told each other, okay, let's pick out a book for each other that we feel like is gonna entertain us or help us. And so I don't remember what I picked out for you.
Great Expectations,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking-
which I'd already read.
Oh,
But I read it again.
yeah. And so she picked out The Beautiful and the Damned, which I don't think you had read that one
I
before.
had not, and I'd like to read it.
And it was, you know, I don't know if it was coincidence or not, but the book had a super big impact on me.
Mm.
And the story in it was super powerful. and it definitely helped me get over some stuff that I was going through during that period. And so that book has had a huge impact on me. I think philosophy wise, there's a book called The Brave New World, which is by Aldous Huxley. And that book is a utopian book. So you guys have probably heard of like George Orwell, who did 1984, which that
I
book
read
in
that
high
book,
school is fantastic. And he did Animal Farm too. But this author, similar to him, the book was a utopian or dystopian society. And in the society, they were breeding the humans. And so there was the alphas, the omegas, the betas. And whatever you were born into, that was your class and you never grew out of it. And so the alphas were good looking, they were smart, they were athletes, and the betas were workers and followers. And then there was the bottom of the barrel, which they were like the grunt workers and basically didn't have a mind of their own. And so the story, it takes place in third person, but it follows one character, and the character is an alpha. That being said, though, he is one of the few alphas that had a deficiency. So he was shorter than the rest and he wasn't as good looking. And so it goes through in the book about how basically whatever class you're born into, like it doesn't matter necessarily what you're born into, but how you make of it. And he was super insecure and he got jealous super quick and his confidence was super low because all these other alphas in his class um, were much better looking. They were smarter. They were more athletic, but he found peace within other people in society, not just the alphas.
Love this.
And it's a cool book because it goes over, they didn't want people breeding. So natural sex was looked as like a sin in that society because everyone was bred in laboratories.
It looks like it was taken off of the market in some states because of the sex that was in it.
Does it say what year it was written? I want to say.
In 1980, it was taken out, but I think it's 1930. I was just looking at it. I'm sorry. I'm not
so
sure.
an older book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to read I don't like reading past like 1950 for the most part. But what was really cool was, like I said, natural sex was looked as a sin. And so everyone in that society, they wore contraception belts. And so it had a bunch of contraception on their belts. That way, if they wanted to perform intercourse, they would make sure they wouldn't have a child. And it's a pretty crazy book. It's very graphic.
It has to do with the government and stuff,
It has a lot to do with the government controlling. And so they control people to think a certain way and they breed people a certain way. That way they have full control over everything. They don't want anyone having their own beliefs or their own mindset. It was all about
like censorship. And stuff.
Yeah, censorship, and there's no individuality. It's all about the group as a whole, like communism basically. And so really interesting book. And then they also talk about, they call them the natives in the book, but those are like the free thinkers. And they like live in like.
I feel like I read this book.
I feel like I'm a native.
This book?
I'm just joking.
Did you ask me to read this book one time?
Were you told to read it in school? I read this in school.
I probably never attended.
What is it called again?
A Brave New World.
Oh,
they did like
1984
I feel like I read and A Brave New World. I want to say.
Yeah, both those books are super similar. All about like censorship, propaganda, individuality, class ranking, stuff like that.
It hits on all of it. Like
That's really cool.
But definitely graphic. A good book.
So what like drives you guys to read? Like what? Nothing. Okay. Well, yours is self-help though, right?
Right, right.
What about you?
Time. Because I too am ADHD. So when I read, I am like there for it. Yeah. And I can't stop. And I think about it constantly. I'm super obsessive. So I don't want to start it unless I can finish it. Yeah. Otherwise I'm like, get away from me.
Right. What about you, Jeremiah?
I'm the same as Andy. Like once I start a book, I pick it up. I don't want to put it down. And also I think, I like to read books for self-help, but most of the time when I'm reading books, I find myself gravitating towards the sections that are more historical fiction, or they have like kind of like an underlying parable where there's like a lesson in the book.
Yeah.
I'm
has
more
a story
too. I'm more story. I mean, I like the life lesson thing and I like the self-help stuff and it's really interesting, but to sit down and read the whole book.
I wouldn't know what it felt like to sit down and read a book for pleasure. So if you were going to recommend
a pleasure book,
something for me.
Any Jonah Lindsay book? I love Jonah Lindsay.
I have 2 vacations coming up.
Mm-hmm. I like romance novels.
What book would you recommend?
Okay,
for me to read
the Stetsons.
That would keep me
the Stetsons
like
it's
page
a romance
by
novel.
page.
The Stetsons. It's a romance novel that I read when I was 14, and it was my mom's romance novel because my mom read like 3 books a day. Like she was one of those kind of women, just read tons of books, would always go to the library and get a bunch of books and then take them all back, or she'd buy them at like, for a quarter at a garage sale. So the Stetsons was one that she had. And so I read it and I loved it, reread it. I have a copy of it and I haven't pulled it out in a long time. So I'll let you borrow it.
Okay.
It's a really good romance novel because it's not too graphic. I mean, I like the graphic ones too, but it's not too graphic. but it's fun. But it's a good book.
What would you recommend for me, Andy?
Well, you remember when Alyssa was here and she told you about the husbands, the 7 husbands of what?
Seven Husbands of Seven Wives or something?
No,
What
it
is
was like the 7 husbands of some girl's name. But but I will find it for you and send it to you, not because I've read it, but because there's like she writes a whole bunch of different books. And so I think you could really get lost in that. But I'm a Flowers in the Attic girl.
Such a great, oh my
love
goodness.
V.C. Andrews.
So great. I forgot about
I read
those.
the entire thing up until she died and had like a sub-writer or whatever, their ghostwriter.
Yes. Shout out to Carla Moeller. Carla got me hooked on those. Carla Moeller piece.
Oh, you had a friend get you hooked
Yes,
on it. I was
loved it.
obsessed with those
Loved
books.
it.
You
So
will
good.
love them.
Interview with the Vampire is another great one.
Anne Rice is Anne Rice is a big one.
My mom used to read.
Yeah.
And I used to just be like,
What a nerd.
what is she doing?
Yeah.
But she would just read and read and read. And I just never knew what that felt like. So
I think for me, because I didn't learn to read till my second year of second grade. And I, like Gina, I didn't want to be looked at as being stupid or all the other derogatory names that I was called because I was going to a special island. You guys all know where I went. And so it was really important to me that when I have time that I read to remind myself that I'm not stupid. So that's why I enjoy reading.
What a great question.
yeah.
That was a good one. What else you got?
Hit us.
Yeah,
I know,
so I
right?
think,
Come at us.
last thing on the books is I think too is like you see people reading and you don't understand why they read because you're like, man, like you could be doing a million things but you're reading. But I think the same is with movies too. I feel like in music it's an escape, and so a lot of people read to escape what they're going through in real life. And so whenever I see someone that's like, I have certain people that I know that start to like they're all of a sudden get into movies a bunch and they're watching a bunch of movies, or they start reading a ton. I kind of have this underlying notion that maybe they're going through something in their real life, and so they need to escape.
Yeah.
That's usually how it is.
Yeah, well, that causes you to be inside. And a lot of times when you're going through something, you don't go out of the house. What can you do? So you read or you
It's true.
watch.
100%.
You
100%.
binge watch.
You live in a fairy tale land.
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly.
Fairy tale land sounds good.
I know. Gina said, I'm
gonna start doing this.
Costs $300 a ticket, and there's mouse ears. That's the food. My next question for you guys is about movies, and
Okay.
so kind of the same question along the lines of what movies have impacted you, or if you want to get just more entertainment side, what movies do you guys enjoy or love, and maybe have a lot of rewatch value for you.
When I'm sad, I watch Pride and Prejudice over and over. I just love that movie, and I'm not sure why, but I love it.
Mine
The
is
newer
Beaches.
one.
Beaches makes me cry.
Oh,
I love to watch stuff that makes me cry.
Me
Steel
too.
Magnolias is another one like
Oh,
that. I'm
Steel
gonna cry.
Magnolias is great.
I'm gonna
That's a
cry.
great
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I like that type.
Me too.
Gosh, that's a really hard question for me because I'm like all over the board. And I think I've said Notebook before and done all that.
Yeah.
That's so like typical.
It's a good movie though.
It
It is a
good
great movie.
Maybe as typical as it wants.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to think of another one, but I am all over the board. Like I said, like I'll go way out on a limb. My favorite, what's your favorite holiday movie?
Oh,
Like-
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like
Yeah.
I like Elf.
Mine
Oh,
is It
cracks
Happened
me
on
up.
Fifth Avenue.
Well, no, I was getting ready to say like I like Scrooged or any kind of Scrooge movie.
Right.
But I just like to go way back. But yours is black and white. isn't
Yeah.
it?
And I think it's my favorite because Bob like introduced it to me, and I used to like I have told you guys before some of the black and whites that Bob would like get me to watch. I'm like, God, it's so lame.
Mm.
And now that I'm older, I so appreciate all of that. It's like anything. We would
Mhm.
make fun of people that are older than us when they introduce
Oh,
things
yeah.
like antiquing, and like now I see like women that do quilting. And I'm like, wow, that is such an amazing talent.
Yes.
And here I am
I
like
wanna
candle
learn how to-
making.
Yeah.
And, we're going to make some limoncello. The kids don't know about it yet. This is the first they're going to hear of it, but I got a whole plan to make our own limoncello. And
Mm.
see,
That's one of
and
my
like I want to
favorite
learn how to
things.
can. Do you guys know how to can?
Mhm.
See, that's so rad. I want to can. I think that's fine. I don't
Who
know what I'm
taught
going
you?
to can, but I'm going to do something.
YouTube.
YouTube. That's how we learn
mama
now.
ever, right?
did
Isn't
it.
that right?
That's how we learn now.
YouTube. What about you, Jeremiah? What's your favorite movie?
Ooh. I'm a
See?
movie lover, and I've seen a ton of movies. And I always say, because I recommend movies to my parents and my siblings, and they're like, "Man, that movie was trash." Like, and I always say it's kind of like when you are a food critic, you start to enjoy so much food that you start liking the abstract stuff. And it's same with movies. If I've watched so many movies,
You're gonna say Clockwork Orange or
and
something.
no, I'm not
Okay.
that crazy, but
Good.
but I think like I've had to pull back myself a little bit because I'm like I've enjoyed these movies that like from pure entertainment they're not good. But
Like what?
they're different, you know? Well, like Clockwork Orange or
I was like, nobody
Mr.
really. This
Bean.
is
There's-
really nobody's favorite movie. They're
there's
lying.
a movie with Daniel Day-Lewis, which he's a great actor.
Great.
And he actually played Abraham Lincoln in Lincoln, which he won an Oscar for that. But he was in a movie in 2017 called The Phantom Thread. And everyone hated on me for the movie, but I really enjoyed the movie because I really liked his performance. I liked the costume design. I liked the backdrops. But if you're just looking at it from a pure, I realized after the movie, I'm like, yeah, maybe that movie, like entertainment wise, it doesn't really hold an audience. But I still enjoy it for what it is, and I really appreciate like the performances and the screenwriting and stuff like that. But when it comes down to my favorite movie, I really like the like entertainment stuff most of the time, and so I'd probably go with either. There's a movie called The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio that I love, directed by Martin Scorsese. I'd say that's up there. There's another one called L.A. Confidential. That one has Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, and Kevin Spacey. I know he got canceled, but that movie is great too. And then another one called American Hustle with Christian Bale and Bradley Cooper. And so those three movies to me are like kind of what I like, which is like detective / satire / crime type stuff. So
I could go as far as like Fight Club.
Fight Club's a great movie.
I
too.
love Fight Club. To me, it was like
It's a good movie.
layers. They were like layers. But I like
Just like the
like
guys with their shirts off, but cool.
Is that it? Is it?
Brad Pitt is in that one.
Yeah, right.
Another great one too that
That made me love Edward Norton. Actually,
Oh, he's
he
a
was
great actor.
fantastic in
Yeah.
that
yeah.
movie.
Have you ever seen The
American History
Illusionist?
X.
with him?
So
Oh my gosh, that
amazing.
movie's
No, I
amazing.
haven't.
Jeremiah,
Is it that
actually, that
good?
was one of his good picks. He doesn't have a lot that I
I'm gonna write it
appreciate.
down, Jeremiah.
He's been on a roll though lately. I think he learned his lesson.
I did with Phantom Thread.
Yeah, and because we were all like, we're done with this guy. Like, if this guy gives us one. Remember, I talked about it before on
You
podcast
did.
that if this
You
fool
did.
gives us
I
one
remember.
more like this, I'm out. And
I was
couldn't
like, what
defend him
movie?
anymore.
She was like, I don't even know.
I literally could not defend him anymore because every time he wants to pick, because he's that guy, he's gonna pick the movie. Like, be like, yeah, choose whatever you want, and everybody's like, oh, he's like, oh, that's crap, and then he picks a movie. So we just got tired of it. But
That's
he's
funny.
really redeemed himself lately.
Hey.
Yeah. And so, but she showed me a movie called Legends of the Fall.
Oh my
Which
gosh.
that movie, oh my gosh.
That
First time I
rocks
watched
you.
that,
That rocks
like
you.
it almost made me cry.
It
And now
rocks
that's
you.
your favorite movie, huh?
And so
It's
that's one of my
hard.
favorites.
My
Yeah,
mom
for sure.
used to watch Dances with Wolves.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a
too.
great
I know
movie,
why
too.
she watched that. I was just
Yeah.
joking.
That was so
Cute
good.
boys.
Dances with
So
Wolves.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
So many great ones though.
Goonies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I loved it. And one of my all-time favorites is, of course, It Happened One Night is my favorite movie, and then Gone with the Wind.
I've never seen it.
I love Gone with the Wind. Usually, I watch it once a year.
Oh,
Overrated.
wow.
Yeah, he would say that, and then it's been canceled. Like everything else. But
What's
it's a
a
period
movie?
piece.
What's a movie you can't turn off? If you turn it on and you see it, you're like, frick, now I've got to watch it. Everybody has one. Like mine.
Pretty Woman.
Really?
I was going to say.
Were you?
Pretty Woman.
Pretty
I'm
Woman.
obsessed with Richard Gere in that movie, which is funny because I would say Richard Gere is not my normal type.
Mm.
He's a little too skinny for me. He's a little
Right.
too pretty boy for me. I like him a little rougher.
Yeah.
But
Officer and a
he's
gentleman.
so sexy.
Mhm.
The way he talks, the way his mouth moves, his eyes in it, even though he has those beady little eyes, but the way that everything about his charisma in that movie, I love. And I love how he's like the boss of Julia Roberts. Like when she goes in there and she's cleaning her teeth with the floss, but he thinks she's doing
He's like,
drugs.
give it to me.
And he's like, give it to me. He's like, and he was like done. Like, he's like, take your stuff. Here's your, shoving stuff in her purse.
Mhm.
Get
I was
outta
like,
here.
God, he's sexy.
Tell me what to do. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. What about you?
I love that movie.
You too?
What was the question again?
Your favorite movie?
Oh, God. I don't know.
No, that if
All
it's
of
when
them.
it comes on,
You
you
have-
have
oh,
to
yeah,
watch
that's
it.
right.
Oh my God. Any of them, like 16 Candles.
Any of those 80 movies.
Yeah. I love 80s.
You're an 80s movies
I
person
love
like me.
80s movies. Yeah,
Mine's
for sure.
Urban Cowboy.
Oh my God.
I cannot since I was a kid, cannot
That
turn
is
off Buddy and
so
Sissy if they're on
freaking
TV.
funny. Oh my God.
That is my mother.
See,
Yeah.
How about
that
The
was my
Outsiders?
mom.
I read the book multiple times and I watched the movie multiple
I
times.
remember Outsiders.
Yeah. And what's the other one? Tex. Remember Tex?
Mm-mm.
I read the book and it was a movie as well. It's around that same time period.
What about how scary movies were in the 80s?
Dude, first of all, I'm not a scary movie person. If you know me,
feel yucky. I
no,
don't
they
like
give me
them anymore.
nightmares.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
I was a scared child because of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I don't mess with that shit.
See, Freddy
No.
Krueger was too psychological for me. It was more like Jason. It was
Ugh.
more like someone
Ugh.
running after me with a knife than it was like messing with my
I've
mind.
never seen a Jason movie.
You've never
Whatever they're
I never
called.
watched the full movie.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I've never seen one single one
Not
of them.
on purpose did I see it. I used to. Well, I did. I was a little kid watching around the corner while they were watching it.
I read the book It when I was 13, 14,
Oh,
somewhere in that
I heard
age.
it's terrifying.
Actually, I was 15. And it scared the living shit out of me to where I was trying to read it during the day. And I remember we lived on Acacia and I was on the couch in the living room facing the street with the window. And I'm reading. I'm like, freaked out. And my dad came home and he went in the back door. He scared the shit out of me. And I'm like, it's broad daylight. I'm sitting on the couch looking out the window.
It's
and I'm
finally
scared to
happening.
death because of this freaking book that I cannot put down.
That's funny.
It's a clown in the gutter.
It's scary
It
as
is.
shit.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Yes. But it's so descriptive. And I'm not a big Stephen King fan
Mhm.
because I don't like scary stuff.
Right, me neither.
But
I
he
like
messed
Stephen
with my
King.
freaking head.
Yeah.
I was jacked up in the head.
His
think-
book Needful Things was awesome.
God.
It was
I
really
cannot do it. Maddie loves it, but since Freddy
Sure.
Krueger, and I think my mom turned on something, maybe it's called like Dreamscape
Oh,
or something.
I hated that movie. I watched that with your mom.
The movie's terrible.
It's terrible
Yeah.
and it messes with your head.
does.
I've never been able to watch scary
can't watch shit
movies
like that.
since then.
No.
Mine was
I can't.
Hostel, and then what was the one where they got stuck in the room and then they had to try to get out of the what is it?
Panic Room?
That's a newer
No,
one.
that's-
That's Jodie Foster, right?
No, this is like where the little dude comes down the hallway in the white and black striped. Thing.
Jigsaw?
Oh,
Yeah,
The
and I'm
Shining.
not super.
The Shining. The Shining actually was good.
No, that's
is-
Thriller. I like that.
The Shining-
I
yeah.
don't want gore. Like
What about Sling
people's
Blade?
heads getting
Sling Blade was actually pretty good.
such a good
Oh,
movie.
is that what is
Yeah,
his Billy
Billy
Bob
Bob.
Thornton?
Yep.
He was brilliant in that
Bob-
movie.
okay, back in the day, I used to do people's voices all the time. It was like a thing I did. I had this guy
Do
that
it
I
now.
worked for one of my many jobs. His name was Les, and I would do Les's voice like every day for Bob, and he's like, do Les. So we watched Sling Blade, and we watched it a few times because we had VHS back then, so we'd watch it over and over again. And then Bob's like, do the Sling Blade voice, and I can't remember it now. It's been like 25 years since I watched that movie, but I would like do it perfect. And Bob's like, yeah, I was like his monkey. I was like, Sling Blade, Sling Blade. But so that was always fun. We had a friend Angie. We all know Angie. I could do Angie's voice better than Angie. And then one time Angie was over and Bob's like, do Angie. And Angie's like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, Mo does your voice. I'm like, this is so embarrassing. And so we had all, not Angie because Angie didn't drink, but we had all been drinking. And so I did her voice to Angie. It was hilarious. It was funny. But
Look
anyways.
at you little. What is the word I'm looking for?
Impressionist.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Greg and I always joke that we can do. Well, used to be able to do like he could do Sean Connery.
Oh.
He'd be like Sean Connery. And the way he would say it, I would just. Well, if that's all it takes.
I love him in that movie where
First King. Is it First King? Is that
No, wait.
what's it called?
It has
King. It's with Richard Gere.
It's with Richard
Is it-
Gere.
Last
Oh,
King or First
God.
King or First Night.
First night.
Oh God, he's so sexy, and he's as old as hell in that
Oh
book.
my God, he's
He's got one on a banana. Not the book, the
She
movie.
always talks about
He's got
that.
one on a banana peel, but he's sexy as hell in that movie because he's the king.
So fun
He's the
fact:
king.
when we first opened the pizza parlor in London, we had this guy. I know you've met
Yes.
him.
And he
And
looked
he
like Sean
looked
Connery.
Exactly like Sean Connery.
And Gail had a thing that she would say, "This guy looks like so and so," and this guy look. And she always had like dupes for everyone.
yeah.
Doppelgangers.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I can never remember that name, and I always told your mom like, "Oh, what's the guy? The thing. He looks like
The
like,
doppelganger?
yeah.
Doppelganger.
Well, the double.
I get accused. Do you guys get accused of looking like people? I get accused
People
all
always
the
tell
time
me
about
that I
Who do they-
remind them of people.
Who do they
It just
remind
happened to
you
me
of?
yesterday.
I all the time. There's got to be some girl that lives in Modesto. When I used to bartend, I used to get not in trouble, but they'd be like, "You were at Fat Cat last night." I was like, "No, I wasn't." Yeah, she was dancing on tabletops. I was like, "Girl, slow it down. You're getting me in trouble."
I have to bring it down a notch.
Right. But I was at a
doppelganger's a whore.
Yeah, right. That was awesome. So she can dance. She can dance. Cool.
She's a drunk dancing whore. I love her. I love this woman.
My new bestie.
I know, right? Maybe you have a split personality. You don't know.
You never know. Maybe I'm falling asleep and then waking up. Well, then I got told at a baseball game that, again, I looked like somebody else. And I was thinking, man, is it that girl who used to go to Fat Cat?
I get it all the time, though, where people, it happened just yesterday. We were in a meeting and the lady's like staring at me, but I'm just thinking she's like looking in my soul, see if I'm like shady or something. And she's like, I'm sorry. You remind me of somebody.
Demi
and
Moore.
I can't put my finger on it.
Demi Moore.
Dude, I wish.
You look just like her.
I would take it.
And Courtney Cox had a baby.
Yeah. And she was short and chubby. Bingo! With a great personality. So what else you got for us, Jeremiah?
Well, what did she say she looked like first?
She didn't know. She couldn't figure it out. She was just, she was puzzled. I puzzled her.
Oh, anyway, Jeremiah.
What you got for us?
Well, to go on the doppelganger thing, I think it's always a compliment when you get someone saying like, "Oh, you look like so and so," and most of the time people aren't going to be like, "Oh, you look like
piece of shit
Drew Carey," because no one wants to look like Drew Carey, or you look like Steve Harvey.
Right.
No one's going to say that. And so when you do get like someone like saying you look like someone, usually it's a compliment. And
Right.
so I've been told before that I look like certain people, or "Oh, you look like this person or that person."
Who's an actor you look like you've been told?
Tom Holland.
Yeah, everyone always says like at Falcons, like there's a group of people that call me Spider-Man. And it's because I look like the actor who plays Spider-Man, Tom Holland, which I kind of do look like him,
You do a little bit.
but not like a ton. But I think it's like enough for them to like, make like a joke of it. And it's like a compliment. It's
For
funny.
Gail to go. That's Tom Holland.
What's that?
Gail would have pointed him out as the
sure.
actor.
Oh,
as his
for sure, for
doppelganger.
sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
That's fun. And I think, like, are there any movies that you guys have watched that have like motivated you guys or inspired you?
What's the 600-pound life? Like, I think I need to watch that again.
Oh, shit.
Oh my gosh.
Eat, pray, love.
Eat, pray, love.
It makes me want to go to Italy and eat.
Bob would say boring.
go to Bali and pray.
I was gonna. I don't know why. I was gonna say. I almost said Sling Blade, but that's not what I meant. That's not what I said.
It inspires me.
Blindside is what I almost said. I thought that was pretty
That's a
inspiring.
good movie.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like Under the Tuscan Sun.
It's a good one too.
She goes to Italy and then buys a villa.
Wow.
Letters
Yeah, you
from
can't beat
Juliet
that.
is
Yeah.
good too. Letters from Juliet. Or,
Mm.
you never seen Letters from Juliet?
Mm-mm,
That is a
mm-mm.
you movie. That has your name written all
Aw.
over it.
I'm gonna go home and be binge watching.
I know,
movies.
right? She's all, I
My
never
little
watch
list
TV.
right here. I don't. I have a hard time.
When I was a junior in high school, the second Creed movie had just come out. And at that time I was in okay shape, but I wasn't like in great shape or anything like that. And it was like at the time when I was like kind of like finding myself and my look and everything. And you want to like in high school, you start becoming more aware of how you look and how you present yourself.
Sure.
And my buddy who was at that time, he had developed like younger. So he was really good looking. He dressed really well. All the girls liked him. He invited me on this double date, and it was kind of like a blind double date because I didn't know the girl. It was like his girlfriend's friend type thing. And so we went and watched Creed 2, and the movie was totally kick-ass, and the dudes are in great shape, and they're like, it has like training montages, and it shows them like getting ready for the fight. And so after that movie, the girl that I went like on the date with like ghosted me. And so I remember I asked my parents like, hey, can I get a speed bag? And I got like a punching bag and stuff like that. And that's when I really got into like the best shape. And that was right before my senior year of high school. But that movie, like to this day, I'm like that movie. And when I hear the soundtrack, I'm like, oh, like this brings back like memories. And
So super motivating then.
yeah, definitely. But another one too, I don't remember the name of it, but I feel like you guys would like it. It was a movie with James Marsden. It was like a romantic movie, a romantic drama. But in the movie, he works at an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, and he's working on the oil rig, and he has a girl back home who he fell in love with, and it was like his childhood love. But then he went and worked, like he went overseas and worked on the oil rigs, and he like had it in his head that when he came back, he was gonna like find her and like reinvigorate the love. And right before the best of me. Yeah.
You were supposed to make it obvious.
Oh. But yeah, so in the movie, he is about to go home, but he actually falls off the oil rig and he breaks his back.
Oh my God.
And so when they fly him back home, and he's on the hospital bed for a while. But then he finds that girl. She actually comes and visits him. And so the whole movie takes place of them like refinding their love, but she's dating someone currently, but she ends up dumping him and they fall back in love. And all the end. And then at the very end of the movie, you find out that when he fell off the oil rig, he actually died. And it was his dream.
Oh my God.
But it was really sad because you don't realize, because it like he found his love again and he's back. But then at the very end of the movie, you find
He's
out that when he
dead.
fell, when he fell off the oil rig, he passed away.
Oh my God.
I
wonder how
wanted
often
to
that
watch
happens.
it.
I know, right? I wrote it
Spoiler
down
alert.
and everything.
I know, I'm sorry.
Anymore.
Great movie though.
The one great movie he recommends.
I
He
know,
spoils
right?
it.
Oh, that's a good one. So name a movie that you bawled your eyes out to. That is the set, like you. That's it. You just can't.
I mean, The
watch it.
Notebook is a crying freaking movie.
I love the Notebook.
Notebook
so
makes you cry. Like
good.
I was like sobbing.
P.S. I Love You is another one that made
You know,
me
I don't
cry.
think I've watched that.
With Hilary Swank and Gerard Butler.
Don't think I've watched it.
He dies in the very beginning, and so it's about her. It's about her afterward.
Oh, it's kind of like Ghost.
Ghost is a
Yeah,
great movie.
he's alive in the beginning, so you just enough time for you to
So you
fall in love with him. And then,
Yeah.
it's a
I
really
love
good one.
characters that you fall in love with.
Me
You know?
too. Yeah.
It's like you
She
just
goes-
become part of them.
I can't believe I married a leprechaun because he has an accent. So
Oh, he's Irish.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, it's really cute. It's a
I
good
love
movie.
that.
What about you? Movie you cried? Come on, come on, Old Yeller.
Old Yeller. I was gonna
Yeah,
say Old Yeller.
Old Yeller.
Where the
I definitely
red
cried
fern
at
Where the
that.
red fern grows.
Yeah,
is
those
another
two
one.
are definitely hard hitters. for
Really?
sure.
You
Oh, yeah.
watched them both?
Oh yeah.
Speaking of that, Bart's been sick for 3 days,
Yeah.
and I have been miserable. So nothing else matters to me but Bart. We all know that. And Bart, in the middle of the night, the other night, got up and like was like acting like he was going to throw up. He like got on me because he was scared, and like he was going to throw up. So I took him outside, and he threw up huge amounts of like mucus, and it was all foamy. And he kept doing it. So I laid outside for 2 hours from I think it was 3 a.m. until 5 a.m. Why he was throwing this stuff up. And he's been sick ever since. So he's getting a little better, but now he has like a cough. So we're taking him to the vet because it's almost like he has kennel cough or something.
Oh, weird.
But I think it's because of all the stuff he threw up, like it's in his nose or something.
It's like he aspirated it. Like,
Yeah.
is it in his lungs too? do you
Yeah,
think?
because when he starts running around, he like he can't breathe right.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. I could take him.
But
in.
anyways, that just reminded, I don't know why that like reminded me of Bart. I guess Old Yeller and with
Yeah.
Redford.
and it would make you cry.
yeah, because I
sick.
love my dog.
Mm.
Yeah, she claims your dog, just so you know.
I know.
Well, yeah, because
I'm a
he's a
deadbeat.
terrible father. He's a deadbeat father.
He's a
deadbeat.
Luckily, I don't have to pay a dog support.
Yeah,
Just
I,
dump him off
usually make
grandma.
him pay for vet bills,
Yeah.
but this one might be significantly large.
Yeah,
right. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
I hope he's okay. Is he eating and drinking?
He's drinking. Yeah,
Oh, that's all.
he's not going to get dehydrated.
Yeah.
I had a dog when I was young named Norm. It was my first dog, and he ended up with parvo, but he fought it, and he lived through that. But he was sick for 2 to 3 weeks, and I mean, I literally thought he was going to die. I like took off his collar. I thought it was like done.
Parvo
Huh?
it.
Taking
Parvo
the
it.
whole-
Literally, I'm out there.
Yeah.
Parvo does mean done most of the time.
Yeah, it would. Gina's such an asshole.
What did she say?
Said digging his hole and like doing the rhythm of digging his hole. Gina like wants to sing a song or something. I don't know. Like Gina's weird. I can just see her over there humming away.
You're
What else you got for us, Jeremy?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys if you could be an actor,
Mhm.
a musician, or a writer. Which one would you like to be and why?
I don't have enough imagination to be a writer. I would be an actress, I
Actress,
guess, probably.
Writer.
writer.
Yeah, because I feel like books last forever. Not that movies don't last forever, but the written word, such as the Bible, lasts forever.
Okay.
So I want to influence people hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years from now.
What kind of books would you write?
Hella good ones. I don't know. not like the romance novels I'm recommending to you.
Say the question again.
So if you could be an actor, a musician, or a writer.
So I know you'd think I'd pick writer, but I actually, you can ask your brother. I always say, if I could move someone with my voice, I've seen these people like sing and they are singing from here and they're almost crying singing. And it's like, I can't imagine showing emotion through that kind of skill. That's like a very exposing, vulnerable skill, but
I
it's
agree.
a very moving, impactful one.
That's such a great way to put it. That was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Wordsmith, writer, whatever.
I guess I should go with the writing thing, right? Maybe I'll stick with writing.
I think with the 3-2, you get like 3 different ways, like there are 3 different forms of fame too. So when you're a musician, you're performing live, it's all on you in the moment, and there's no messing up. Where
Right.
an actor, you get multiple takes.
Mhm.
That being said, if you achieve the top tier of actors, you're the biggest star in the world.
Mhm.
And you see guys like Justin Bieber who are like the biggest musicians. But when you're an actor and you're one of the top, you're legendary. I mean, it's like everyone knows exactly who, and that's why they say like, oh, he's like movie star status. Like, there's a reason.
Right. There is a reason.
And then writers, on the flip side of it, is most writers that you hear about, you don't even know what their name looks like. So it's a much more humble profession in that sense.
right.
And so that's more about just like, I feel like that's probably like the purest form of expression, because you're writing what you feel and it's your creative outlook, but you're not really looking for that fame necessarily.
You know what? Now that you say that, when you think about the singers who are singing the lyrics of those songs, so many times are not even their words.
Correct.
So many other people are the ones that are the wordsmiths behind those lyrics
Correct.
that move you, and it
Yeah,
wasn't
100%.
really
100%.
delivery.
And that always, like, whenever I hear people say like, oh, he doesn't even write his own music. Like, to me though, like, you can't have one without the other. Like, I always say Elton John. That's like the first name that comes
He's
to mind.
brilliant.
And he didn't write his own music. And that
Mhm.
being said, without him, all that music is a
It's
bunch
trash.
of gibberish.
Yeah, it's
Right,
trash.
exactly.
All
And-
the words are trash.
Yeah, most of his words are kind of like iffy, especially on some of like Tiny Dancer's a great song, and you get like emotion from the song, and like it has like this feeling of like gravitas, but at the same time, if you hear the words, it's like what
What are they even talking
you know,
about?
and
right
it's the
now?
same with like the Beatles, like they wrote all their own music, but a lot of their words, it's like what are they even like? I don't even know what that means. Or,
Great example of execution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
all
Daniel,
about
my
executing.
brother's another one. Like, I love Daniel. Daniel, I love that song. But it's like, what the hell is he talking about? Does his brother die? Like,
No, so that one's about his
what is it?
friend that goes off to war. I think it was during like the Civil War, during Spain's Civil War.
Right?
And so he's saying like when his brother comes back, he's not the same. Like you've seen more than I.
Got
And
it.
he's saying like he sees
So
death in his
that's what it
eyes.
is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I never know what it's about, but I like love the
He's
song.
like, do you still feel the pain?
Right.
Like all that stuff.
Daniel, my brother.
Yeah. Great
Oh,
song.
sing it, girl.
Great song.
I loved this. This was fun. What about you?
You'd be an actor.
Yeah, I'd say an actor.
Yeah, you would? You'd pick actor?
I couldn't be a musician.
It's the
too much.
Spider-Man thing.
Yeah,
Huh?
musician is
Just
too much
kidding.
pressure. Like I would fold. Like if there's a 50,000 people in front of you, there's no way.
I always think about them. We just went to a Christian concert. We went to Brandon Lake, and when we saw him up there and watching everybody with such like conviction and such passion, worshiping back and singing the same song back to him, he would just stop. You could just see his face. He would just be stumped because they're not worshiping him, but they are using his creativity to
Worship God.
yeah. But it's for something else. So it was like, I don't know, what a cool.
It's so cool.
Now that would be really neat
Yeah.
to do it for not your own glory.
100%.
For someone else.
Yeah, but for a reason, for
Yeah.
another thing.
I think that's
love
why I'd
that.
probably pick writer overall, just because I think the long-term impact of like what it means to be an actor is just, it's too much fame and too much, you can't even go outside.
That's true. At least you'd be able to keep your life being an writer.
Well, thank you, Jeremiah, so much for flipping the script on us. We really
welcome.
appreciate you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Loved it.
This is Mighty Mo signing off. Today was a different vibe, and I hope you enjoyed that fresh perspective as much as I did. Huge thanks to Jeremiah for flipping the script and our whole tribe for listening in. Remember, every story brings us closer. Feel blessed, be blessed.